Okay, my name's Jerry Brown, and I am here representing what American Renaissance is. Doing this for a English class, American Literature class for University of Phoenix. Uh, it is for class 255 of American Lit. So anyhow, I just want to go on from here. Hopefully, this isn't jerking around and doing a bunch of stuff. This webcam is something that I just found. My wife just introduced it to me, so it has these wonderful little, things like that, and big old bam right in your face. So anyway, I have 10 minutes. Once this 10 minutes is over, it's going to click off, and that'll be my 10-minute segment. And I'm talking about the American Renaissance. So I want to go. I don't want to waste time, so I want to go back a little bit and kind of talk about American literature. The first parts of American literature, what we've known up to this point, was really more like a journal and journalism, not really journalism, but journalists writing things down, as you had explorers, sailors, military men, British military, American military, all these people just basically writing down what actually happened. So it's kind of boring, a little bit of snooze going on. And then all of a sudden, some people had some bright ideas, and they began to write about maybe some nature, maybe things that they saw out in society. But most of them, they come up with this wonderful idea to voice their political opinion. And when they did this, they started to use little articles that they placed into the newspapers. Because, of course, the printing press was already invented several hundred years before this. And so now people were getting the word out. If they wanted a word, just go to the newspaper and get it printed out. Maybe a little flyer telling you when the dance is coming up, or the social at the church, or whatever was happening at the time. So you'd read these little newspapers, articles in newspapers. Sometimes they had to use a surname so they wouldn't get caught and hung or whatever by the British military, or caught and hung for what they actually believed in. So from this powerful political voice, political writing, comes a new nation, and our new nation starts. And we've gone on what actually the political freedom that we all enjoy in this country. We didn't really know what that freedom was. Freedom from what? From the tyranny of England, but there's still this tyranny that is within us, and within our nation and within our surroundings. And so the writers and the poets and people that were authors back then in about the 1830s started to come up with a new idea. Okay, and they call this the American Renaissance, and there was also the English Renaissance. But in America itself, a lot of the ideas came from one specific individual by the name of Ralph Waldo Emerson. And I just want to throw his name out there and throw a little bit about what he kind of believed and thought. Just during this time, we got a lot of religion, and the culture was very religious, not too political, but mainly religious, as people began to look at one another on how to act or react or even live culturally due to their relationship with God. Okay, and if they were in sin, then obviously they were cast out of the community, and no one talked to them, and they were just outcasts. And then you get things that happen like the Salem witch trials, and people just trying to come up with accusations on others on the way that they're living. So the culture at the time was very religious, and you had this religious overtones in everything that you did, everything that you saw and read. And if you had any ideas of your own, it was really suppressed. I thought of it as maybe a taboo, or maybe something that you're not supposed to think of. But really, all these people are thinking these things. So now how do we react to that? Okay, we react to it by writing. Okay, we can come up with some nonfiction. So let's write some nonfiction books, such as a Moby Dick by Herman Melville, or The Scarlet Letter by Hawthorne, or some poems that I'll talk about here in a little bit, like by Walt Whitman, and Leaves of Grass, and some individual poems that are in there. So Emerson, his thought, he got a lot of his thoughts from Plato, Socrates, and also a German philosopher and idealist by the name of Immanuel Kant. And really he got this theory of transcendentalism, and what that philosophy and what those theories are. It basically means that the inherent goodness of a person or people and nature also it's inside of us. Okay, inherent goodness. So everybody is really good. Okay, nature is really good. All these things are really good. And, people are their best when they are self-reliant. That's another one of their thoughts. So what Emerson thought was that society had corrupted the good individuals. So all this, okay, the good individuals were gone because society corrupted them, and they had to start believing ways of the church and ways of politics and all this, all this stuff that just really weighed them down, and they needed to free themselves from it. And in freeing themselves, they gained this wonderful romanticism, like a naturalist, or that's the whole thought of this transcendentalism, is that you are your best. Okay? Everything that you do is your best. Now, some of that, I kind of believe in, because, hey, I am, I can do my best. But not relying on God or any religion is, it can rub me the wrong way sometimes, and maybe not. But I think that we all rely on each other. That's one good thing. But anyway, it's sticking with American Renaissance, right? So let's stick with the subject here. Let's talk about those three people that I just mentioned that gained a lot of their thoughts and their ideas from Emerson. The first one being Walt Whitman. Okay, so Walt Whitman, he attests a lot of his thoughts and a lot of his ideas from Emerson. He was a poet. He wrote a small book called Leaves of Grass. He edited it and refined it many times. We don't know how many times, but over 4, probably even more than that. Over his lifetime, he edited these poems that are in there. And he added to and took some away and combined some together. But anyway, it's just a small book of poems about nature, spiritualism, religious. He gains a lot from Homer and Homeristic ideas. But he also, in there's one small poem I want to talk about. It's called Song of Myself. In that, he talks about the I individual person. And the I person wants to solve all the problems that are going on. And that is a perfect example of transcendentalism, that you are self-reliant. You can solve everything. You don't have to rely on anybody else to solve any problems. Don't go to them and ask any questions. You can do it on your own. The next person, real quick, because I'm down to about 2 minutes left here. Herman Melville wrote Moby Dick. I don't care what you believe about it. I know from my own personal experience that this book, to me, speaks of the whale that is uncatchable out there. Okay, and it really is a book about whalers going out to catch this big whale, Moby Dick. It is one of the most quoted lines of American literature. Is the first line, "Call me Ishmael." They're on the boat. There's a lot of class problems. There's a lot of social structures. A lot of different things going on the ship. Melville goes back to Shakespeare. He also takes some Homeristic ideas and a lot of ideas from this transcendentalism. Okay, in the book, to me, it's really a search for something that's out there that you can't get. The last person I want to talk about in my little 45 seconds here is Nathaniel Hawthorne. He writes The Scarlet Letter. Hollywood has gained many stories from this. In a nutshell, it's a priest who has an affair with a married woman. That's where you get the Scarlet Letter, the A that's put on this lady. Okay, so through all of this, the taboos talked about in Scarlet Letter is something that no one even thought of or imagined. But anyway, in all the American Renaissance, to end up here in the last 10 seconds, it's a search for yourself. It's to reach out there and do things on your own and just experience the whole thing on your own.